Good morning, Patriots. How are you today? This is Mike Cook coming to you live from Central Missouri. As you're jumping on, say hi to me. Let me know where you're watching from. I won't know you're there if you don't comment, but I do appreciate everybody jumping on and sharing. And I tell you what, we are in unprecedented times. We are in times that you should be excited to see, although it's scary and you think, what's going to happen next? We are in a time. They're going to talk about pivotal times in American history. They're going to talk about the Revolutionary War. They're going to talk about War 1812. They're going to talk about the Civil War. They're going to talk about World War II. And they're going to talk about today. We are in a time where we're going to make history. Something's going to happen in the very near future, I believe, that will change everything, that will change America, and thus change the world. So grab your favorite morning sip and take a drink with me this morning. Nothing like a strong cup of coffee with nothing in it but coffee. I hope you're all having a great day, because today is the first shots being fired by the Trump team. Sidney Powell is expected. I know she's not officially on the team, but there's reasons for that. She is filing her case in Georgia. The Lynn Wood case has been elevated to the federal level now. The cases in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin have been moved up to federal court, which will be having hearings on Monday or Tuesday. Now, mind you, in those cases in Pennsylvania that Rudy Giuliani is doing and his attorneys, they've been slapped down by the lower courts without ever having a hearing, without ever being able to present an argument. The judge just didn't want to hear it. So they've never presented their case. They've never said anything to anybody or had the time to present their case. But when they get to the federal court level, they're actually going to have hearings. They're actually going to present cases. They're actually going to be able to have an argument. Now, whether or not the lower court judges, the federal judges on the circuit courts, rule with the Trump team or rule with the opposing team, the Democrats or whatever, is irrelevant. Because it doesn't matter. If Trump wins this case on Monday or Tuesday, it will be appealed and go to the Supreme Court by the Democrats. And if it goes the other way, it will be appealed and go to the Supreme Court. That's the purpose of this hearing, is to get it to the Supreme Court. Now, mind you, I imagine sometime next week, Arizona, New Mexico, those cases will be elevated to the federal level. So we have Georgia, we have Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, and soon we'll have New Mexico and Arizona elevated to the federal level, in which the argument will be able to be made finally, and they won't be shut down by these lower one-sided courts who don't even allow the argument to be made. And what's going to happen is they're going to, in order to expedite the process, they're going to, meaning Trump's team, is going to petition the Supreme Court, once a ruling's made in any one of these cases, positive or negative, doesn't matter. They're going to petition the Supreme Court to combine them all and pull them all up to the Supreme Court and argue them all out there. And what they're going to argue is a couple of things. They're going to talk about the fraud, but they're going to mainly talk about, their argument's going to be disenfranchisement, meaning that in these counties where shenanigans were done, but in other counties, shenanigans were not allowed to be done. Therefore, it's not equal protection under the law. And the ones in the other county were disenfranchised by the ones in the counties that did all the shenanigans. That is the constitutional premise that they're going to go before the Supreme Court with. But they're also going to point out all the shenanigans, for sure. Absolutely, 100%, that's going to happen. there's a whole bunch going on, and I'm trying to find the post I had that I wanted to show you, and now I can't find it. So I guess I'm just out of luck. Oh, here we go. So this right here is the media that lies constantly, reports fabricated stories that are completely made up 24 hours a day, paid millions of dollars in defamation lawsuits to a high school kid wearing a MAGA hat, demands Cindy Powell provide evidence. Well, they're about to get it. That's what's about to happen. The evidence is about to be presented in court. Get excited because we're finally getting into the game. We're finally getting into our side going on the offensive. You know, the media is going to be talking about this and talking about that. They're trying to spin it. I mean, the media right now, the biggest disinformation campaign in American history is going on. Right now, there's things happening all around this country that, frankly, are unbelievable. You know, big news in Nevada. A judge has allowed Nevada Republicans to present findings in widespread voter fraud in December 3rd hearing. Americans will now hear evidence from those who saw firsthand what happened, a critical step for transparency, remedy, and legal ballots. Stay tuned. So this is starting to happen all over the place. But I was trying to find the one about disinformation, and I'm not finding it. So maybe I forgot to load it in. But the media will do everything they can to distract you from what's happening right now. Things are starting to percolate and bubble up. Understand this. We are at war. We have an enemy. The enemy knew what was going to happen from the beginning. They've been planning this. If you don't believe me, get on the magic Google box, Transition Integrity Project, and read it. They knew all this was going to happen. They knew that they were going to have to cheat so much that it could not be denied. This is why they had to announce President-elect Biden, when he's not president-elect yet. But they had to get this to happen. They had to discourage you. They had to get all of you to abandon Trump so that Trump would concede. Because without a Trump conceding, this will not stand. And they know it. So be prepared for what they're going to do. See, in a war, you know, your battle plan only lasts until first contact. You see, they have a battle plan. So, like I said, it's called Transition Integrity Project. You could print it out and read it. I suggest you do that. It tells you what they're thinking. And it also follows the step-by-step what's been happening, including the Republicans coming out against the president, the turncoat Republicans, the ones who were never really on his side to begin with. Then you know who I'm talking about. But there's other things they're doing to distract us. If you turn on Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, and all them, what are they talking about right now? Corona, 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 corona. We're all going to die from the coronas. We got Pennsylvania telling you have to wear a mask inside while eating. They're banning Thanksgiving all over the country. They're banning liquor sales in Pennsylvania, but only on Thanksgiving. So the coronies can kill you if you drink liquor, but only on Thanksgiving. If you drink liquor today or Friday, you're safe. Keep that in mind. Just want to make sure everybody's safe. You know, it's like the inconsistencies of wearing a mask. You can wear a mask. You have to wear a mask to go into the restaurant. But once you sit down into the restaurant, you don't have to wear the mask. But that's inconsistent. That doesn't make any sense if you think about it. Now, whether or not you want to wear a mask or not wear a mask, whether or not you think it's good for you or not good, whether or not you think that this is real or not real, or maybe they're just taking political advantage of a real situation, is irrelevant to my point. that some of these draconian rules that they're putting in place are inconsistent. If alcohol is going to cause you to get the coronavirus, then shouldn't you ban alcohol permanently? We tried that once in this country. It didn't work out well, by the way. But anyways, in California, they're trying to distract you from what's going on. So here's a little article that I got. It says California warned of holidays, gatherings, singing, chanting, and shouting, unless, of course, you're chanting and singing and shouting while torching downtown LA or San Francisco or, wherever. The state issues holiday killing regulations, and don't forget to keep your mask on between bites. They are trying to cause you to panic about something else. Don't worry, don't look at this over here. Don't look at this over there. California students are only partially back at school. Gyms are closed. Restaurants are only allowing 20% capacity. Masks are required in public setting. Daily sighting of cyclists, runners, mothers pushing baby carriages. Young co-eds playing volleyball in the parks while wearing face masks is now the new normal. Governor Newsom issued a new set of guidelines, orders, which ban gatherings of more than 3 households in a single family on Thanksgiving celebrations. The governor and the California Health and Human Services Secretary say that indoor gatherings will be permitted because permitted. They will be permitted. They will be permitted. Go back to that in a second. So everyone is to plan on holding Thanksgiving. It says will not be permitted. Indoor gatherings will not be permitted. But anyways, we'll go back to that. So everyone is to plan on holding Thanksgiving outdoors in their backyard, patio, or driveway. I don't think that would be very fun here in Missouri this time of year because you never know what you're going to get with the weather. But I digress. I want to touch on that permitted thing. As I recall, there's this document. It's a couple hundred years old. And in there it has some amendments. And the very first one says, right to peacefully assemble. I don't think that permission has anything to do with it. I think we're permitted to gather at our homes, at our churches, at our public squares, or wherever we see fit to gather. But I digress. That's not where I wanted to go with this conversation. I wanted to talk about what's going on. Don't get distracted by the fluff. Don't get distracted by the coronas. Don't get distracted by whatever else they're going to throw up to distract you, because that's their intention and purpose, is to distract you on what's really going on here, which is a coup attempt against the United States of America. The president came out and said, why isn't the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Ruffins Perry, or whatever his name is, you see it there, a so-called Republican, allowing us to look at the signatures on envelopes for verifications? We will find tens of thousands of fraudulent, illegal votes. This could also be very helpful for Senator David Perdue and Senator Kelly Loeffler. Why is he afraid of Stacey Abrams? We don't need the ballots. We only need the envelopes, the signed envelopes. Now, in that statement, there's a whole bunch going on in that statement right there. A whole bunch that you gotta pay real close to. I'm going to leave that up so I can kind of parse it out, okay? Sidney Powell is getting ready to file a lawsuit. In that lawsuit, she's going after Republicans, which is why she had to separate herself from the lead Republican, Donald Trump, okay? Including the Secretary of State of Georgia. Also probably the governor of Georgia. However, he has changed his tune. Now, mentioning David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, who are the senators who are in a runoff election, if they can create ballots out of thin air without signed envelopes and mail-in ballots, then David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler have no hope of winning this runoff election. No hope at all. There is no way they can win because they'll just cheat again. We only need to see the signed envelopes. So what is he talking about there? What is the president talking about? Signed envelopes. All over this country, the way that the mail-in ballots were set up is that you had an envelope. You had an inner envelope that was signed with your credentials on who you are, where you live, that you can legally vote in that state. And then the ballot was anonymous inside the signed envelope. What they were doing in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia, Arizona, New Mexico, is those ballots were turning up 138,000 in the middle of the night, all for Biden, with perfect computer-generated circles drawn. They said they opened the envelopes, they took the ballots out, and they threw the envelopes away or discarded or lost or can't find. They don't know where the envelopes is. Oh, Lord, what do we do with the envelopes? The envelopes are key because the envelopes guarantee that these ballots aren't fake. So if you can't produce they were supposed to put the envelope with the ballot. According to the Supreme Court, especially in Pennsylvania, they were supposed to set those aside so that they can be scrutinized later. But what was happening is they chased out, oh, by the way, you're supposed to allow a Republican and a Democrat and a Libertarian and a Green Party and a Constitutional Party and whatever other party wants to show up and scrutinize each and every ballot and each and every envelope. And if there's a question in that ballot or that envelope, you set it aside and you let the courts determine that. They weren't counted. Yet, in each of these states, we have ballots with no envelopes, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of ballots with no envelopes. We have no idea where they came from, and we can't prove that they're even legit. And that's because they're not. You see, there never was any envelopes. You can fake the ballots, but you can't fake the envelopes. That's the catch. That's what part of the argument is. And mind you, there's a whole lot going on here. These several states, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, New Mexico, have certified their elections. The Democrats were touting, we've certified the election. Biden's going to be our president. Look, they certified. These Democratic governors and Democratic Secretary of States in these states, and the Republican ones too, have certified these elections. They have certified. They have signed their name on a government document swearing to the fact that everything in here is true to the best of their knowledge. But if they have these ballots, no envelopes, how can it be true to the best of their knowledge? Therefore, they just committed perjury. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? By signing those certifications, they've committed a crime. If it can be proven that it was not as they said it was, which is why we're going to court. You see, I came to my mind, there was once a general in the Marine Corps, God bless the Marines. His name was Chesty Puller, yes. I'm terrible with names. But this is what he said. He had a quote, and this is true. He said, his guy came up to him and said, "Sir, you know they've cut us off. We're entirely surrounded." And he says, "Those poor bastards. They've got us right where we want them. We can now shoot in every direction." This is where the president is today. His enemies got him right where he wants them. He's been playing them like a fiddle this whole time. Just singing their song. He come out and gave a press conference. You ought to look up on YouTube and find this. I played for you, but I can't do the videos without someone here to help me. But you got to look it up. He came out, him and Mike Pence and them came out and did a press conference, turned around and walked away. And the media threw an ever-loving tizzy fit that was in the White House room because he wouldn't take any questions. How dare he not take questions from us? He's just playing these suckers. He's just playing these people like no tomorrow. Oh, it's going to be a fun next couple days. Be prepared, be excited, be ready, because I'm just scratching the surface with this stuff that's coming out. I'm just sharing a little bit. I mean, there's so much coming out. As Sidney Powell says, it's coming in a fire hose or a waterfall. It's amazing what's going on, what's coming out, what's out there. And I want to talk about one more thing. I made a post. I talked yesterday about some stuff. I mentioned pamphleteers, and I made a post today on my page. Go look at it about pamphleteers. I want to talk a little bit about that real quick before I get off here. Pamphleteers, back in prior to the Revolutionary War, you know, the newest, greatest technology is what makes America great. Technology is what drives everything. You know, people say before capitalism and before technology, you had to conquer your fellow man in order to create wealth. Let me pull that down real quick. I want to talk about something. I hope you guys hang with me. I just might make this a little bit longer. You had to conquer something to create wealth. You had to steal from your fellow man. You had the robber barons and the kings, and they owned everything, and everybody basically was a slave to them. But then the thought of freedom, liberty, and capitalism. You see, what capitalism allowed was for the ingenious and liberty, capitalism and liberty. You have to have both. For the ingenious of man to come up with new ways, come up with technology. You see, everybody says we stole the land from the Indians, but see, the Indians didn't have a certain piece of technology that the Europeans did that made land valuable. Indians didn't see value in land. Native Americans, I should say. They were hunter-gatherers. They believed land provided for them, but they really weren't into the large farming operations that the Europeans had set up, making land valuable. Technology. You see, piles of sand is worthless. Really? I mean, I guess you can smear it underneath your swimming pool or something. Helps level the ground when you're going to pour concrete. But if you take that sand and you process it and you mat it down and you turn it into a silicone disc, and then you put some copper and some lead and some other stuff and some gold and some platinum in there, and you put it in the right format, and all of a sudden it's infinitely valuable because it's a microchip. You see, it's not possessions, it's not gold, it's not land, it's not any of those things that creates value and wealth. But it's technology that creates wealth. And you see, I'm going to pull this back up. Back in the day, back 200 something years ago, back before the Revolutionary War, there was a brand spanking new technology, and it was called the printing press. Brand spanking new. That was akin to the internet. That was akin to Facebook or Twitter, in changing everything. And we had these things called pamphleteers. Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Paine being some of the biggest. And this says a writer of pamphlets, especially ones of political or controversial nature. See, pamphlets are a historical term for someone who creates and distributes pamphlets, unbound and therefore inexpensive booklets intended for wide circulation. What were pamphleteers making? They were making memes, basically. They were spreading the idea of freedom and liberty through these little pamphlets all around the New World. Because the printing press allowed a cheap, viable way of passing information. Today we are at a precipice. We are at a new world of pamphleteers. When you go to Twitter and you follow your favorite people and they're gathering, I posted a bunch of them from blue check marks and not blue check marks, like Major Patriot and I don't know. There's some of them I can't think of the top of my head. I'm not good thinking that fast enough. I don't write it down. But They're pamphleteers, citizen journalists looking into what's going on, spreading the word, spreading the fires back then of revolutionary war, today of freedom and conservatism and constitutionalism. We, and I do put myself in it because basically that's what I'm doing here, these blogs are pamphleteers. We're not the mainstream authenticated journalists. We're not the accredited ones. I never went to college. I'm not even that smart. Just have eyes and a brain and common sense, and I can do a little thinking on my own. We're the pamphleteers. Whether you're fighting the mask mandates in your neighborhood, whether you're reaching out, proclaiming the Q stuff, whether you're going after all the information that's out there about voter fraud, whether you're standing up for religious liberty or gun rights, you're a pamphleteer. And I welcome you to our ranks. Because it's going to be us that changes this country. It's going to be us that saves this country. Because the media has sold out for the profit and greed that the media did back in the day. So it's up to us to carry the torch. By sharing these videos, by sharing the videos of other people, go back, I listed some people, go back to the post I made just below this video about pamphleteers. I ask, if you know somebody, put it on there so other people can follow those people you follow. Because that way we can spread the word. Because regardless of whether or not Facebook and Zuckerberg and Twitters and all that mute us, we can still get the word out. They can't stop us all. They can't mute us all. And when the time comes and we have to rise up with our pitchforks and torches, they can't stop us all either. There's more of us than there are of them by far. Hang in there, Patriots. It's going to be a wild, crazy ride, and it's going to get real interesting real quick. Be prepared because our enemy has a plan. Go to the Transition Integrity Project, download it. It's 26 pages long. Read what they said they're going to do when we get to this point. Because here we are. They will not go down without a fight. Be prepared. By fight, I mean fight. Be prepared. I appreciate y'all jumping on. I've gone long. Share this video. We really appreciate you guys coming on. And remember, if you're out there and you're spreading the word, you're a pamphleteer. A great American patriotic tradition. Have a great day.